This podcast contains spoilers for the entire Uncharted series. What's up, everyone? Welcome to part 3 of our 3-part Uncharted mini podcast series. Hooray! Woo. I'm your usual host, Scott, and joining me is new co-host Joel.
What's a crack?
For anyone who's listening outside of Northern Ireland, that does not mean that we want to buy drugs. Crack is... how would you describe it? It just means
what's happening. What's happening? A crack?
Yeah,
so...
You know, it doesn't mean like where's the cocaine.
I mean, I suppose it could mean that as well.
It can mean that, and you actually did sell me cocaine earlier, so yes. You know it actually
good cocaine too.
I know, been on it the last hour. Yes, but there you go. What's the crack, people?
Yep.
So if you haven't checked them out already, we've got a video for our reactions to the Nathan Fillion fan film of Uncharted, and yeah, I'll leave a link somewhere. We also had a video on what we want from an Uncharted live action series or franchise or whatever. And this is the third one. This is, should Nathan Drake return to the Uncharted franchise? I'll kick this one off.
Yep.
I was thinking to myself, oh, and this contains massive spoilers for Uncharted 4.
I don't know why anyone would be listening to an Uncharted podcast if they haven't played the fucking
games. Maybe they're like... They've looked at the box and they're kind of intrigued, and maybe they've played
so
the first one.
they decide to listen to some obscure podcast by some fucking randomers in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, Jesus. Going, yeah, should Nathan Drake return, and who is Nathan Drake? But anyway, can it be Cassie? So at the end of Uncharted 4, he's got a kid with Elena, Cassie, and the obvious kind of thought is, oh, well, the next Uncharted isn't going to be Nathan Drake. Can it be Cassie instead? And I was thinking about this, and I think that would be a good idea. Have a new generation that's, a female lead, and that's grand and all. It could be Cassie, or it could even be her kids. It means that you're going to have Nathan Drake there in, a dad role, or the Sully role. You're going to have Nathan Drake the other end of the phone. Maybe he could be kidnapped or something, but you're going to have him in it in some form. That's what I was thinking, and I think it can be Cassie, it can be her kids, but it has to be someone from the Drake family. And the reason for it is, in the Uncharted world, in that universe, there's nothing unique about it. There's no Avengers, there's no IMF, there's no Serenity.
It's not like Star Wars.
No, there's no lore, there's no Force, there's no anything. The only thing that makes, for me, Uncharted unique as Uncharted and not another Indiana Jones is Drake. So you have to have his family in it in some form. So I would argue that it doesn't have to be Nathan Drake. I do feel his story is over, but... if you're going to have prequels, they're going to be okay, but they're not going to be quite as exciting. I think it has to be Cassie or her kids, and you have to have Nathan Drake in it in some form.
Oh. I agree.
Hey!
I agree.
I thought you were just going to argue with that straight away.
I'm baffled by Cassie and her kids. I'm baffled by her kids part. Cassie makes complete sense, right?
It's the obvious one.
It's along the lines I was going with for majority of it.
Okay.
So... to answer the question, should Nathan Drake return to Uncharted?
Yeah.
Yes, but not as a playable character.
Yeah.
Obviously. Along the lines of the Sully role, yeah. Uncharted obviously does have the potential to become much more than just being about Nathan Drake, because obviously the first few games had Drake, obviously we have Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, and Among Thieves. Third was
Drake's Deception.
So there's 2 titles that had Drake in the title.
Yeah.
So it's not like Indiana Jones. No. So it's not like Indiana Jones and whatever it is they're doing. What Uncharted has over Indiana Jones is the consistent breadth of secondary characters that support Drake. So obviously each Indiana Jones film, it's more or less different people that support him. There's different secondary characters. Uncharted doesn't have that problem. Uncharted has a consistent cast, with introduction of new characters with each installment.
Yeah.
So it would be stupid not to capitalize on that.
100%.
You finish Nathan's story.
Yeah.
Sweet. It's complete, nicely done, beginning and end. Obviously, they want to pepper in wee things in between through other media, such as comics, novels, films. They can do that. Yeah. But it makes sense to go with Cassie as the primary focus point.
Yeah.
So I think there's other combinations of characters that could work. Sam and Sully would be another one, right? Mm-hmm. Cutter and Sam. I'm a big Cutter fan, so the opportunity to possibly play as him in a game, elaborate on his story more, something I'm completely done with. I've already done Nadine and Chloe, which I'm sure we'll touch on a wee bit later. But here's young Sully. That'd be interesting. Different time period, you know, we'll get to see the idea of maybe Sully as not a good a guy as he is now, and he's not really a good a guy when he's older anyway. So someone who's a little bit less
morally guided, or less morally
I do think Nathan gave him a sense of morals. You know, it helped. You know, when there's a younger kid, you want to show the ropes. You don't want to be imparting bad wisdom to him. So that's probably helped Sully develop as a person. So whenever he didn't have Nathan, what was he like? You know, what kind of shady shenanigans was he getting into? Could be an interesting kind of prequel story they could do.
Could be. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I do think the strongest aspect, like I said, was Nathan Drake and the secondary characters that were surrounding him.
100%.
So if we're going to go Cassie, is that how I pronounce her name? Cassie?
Yep.
New characters around her. Introduce new characters with her, with the older characters in brief supporting roles. Yeah. So
like Star Wars.
Very much like Star Wars, except
Star Wars The Force Awakens, where it's passing the torch type thing.
Yeah, doing the passing the torch, except really do pay respect to the ones that came before and not...
Yeah, you have to. Like,
fuck over the fans of the franchise who's been with you so far, you know.
Yeah, have you seen a completely new cast of characters, okay? Not related to Drake, not, you know, just a whole new cast.
Yeah.
And you've seen this, they're looking for treasure and whatever. What makes it Uncharted? If you just see the Uncharted logo slapped on it, it could be any old logo slapped on it. Hell, it could be Tomb Raider logo slapped on it.
Yeah.
You know, Tomb Raider without Lara Croft is the same as Uncharted without Nathan Drake and his cast, you know? What I mean is there's nothing in that universe that can let it continue and be unique. It's not like Assassin's Creed has Abstergo. Yeah. Yes, that's a wee bit stupid, but, you know, it doesn't need Desmond. It really doesn't. But Uncharted, it needs that Drake connection.
Cassie would have to be the linchpin for a true Uncharted sequel, right? Because you can have spin-offs with the other characters, you know, like I was saying, with Sam and Sully, with Cutter, with, you know, all them ones. But for a true Uncharted sequel, it would have to be Cassie and her maybe trying to live up to her father. That's if That'd
be great.
That is if it even goes the treasure route.
Well, the good thing is, if you keep the Drake family name, then it's got that connection. That lets it keep the Uncharted name on the box.
Yeah.
Then you can go a different route.
Yeah.
You know, but if you take that treasure route away and you take the Drake character away, then it's just not Uncharted.
Well, I think you keep the Drake character, you keep the Drake family.
Yeah.
Do we need to keep the Uncharted name? Like, that's the thing. The great thing about Uncharted was that he was going to places that he hadn't discovered, that the world hadn't discovered.
Yeah,
so we've had 4 main games, 1 spin-off game, and a Vita game, which technically there's 2 spin-off games. The world is only so big. There is probably not much left that's Uncharted. So I think continuing the story of the character is a good idea, but does the focus necessarily have to be on treasure hunting and tropical locations now? And I've been toying with the idea of this obviously earlier on with the film suggestion I had, that maybe it isn't all about treasure hunting, that these characters are the real reason we come, and not necessarily because they're out hunting treasure. They can be in an action film or an action game, and as long as there's plausible and interesting reasons for them doing whatever they're doing, I'm in, like, you know.
Yeah.
But
I do feel, as you said, as characters.
Yeah.
And if you were to cut away from Drake completely.
Yeah.
That's the big no. So I do think overwhelmingly the answer to this question is yes.
Yeah.
But we'll quickly talk about The Lost Legacy quickly. So Lost Legacy came out. Did you play it yourself?
I did. I completed it.
I thought it was a brilliant little game.
Yeah, it was decent.
You know, I thought it was a really solid game, and that's because Naughty Dog don't do anything that's not quality. It was a quality game.
I'm not going to lie. I can barely remember the story. I do know...
Very little of it. Very little.
Yeah. I do remember enjoying my time with it.
Exactly.
I remember...
I haven't revisited it.
No, I haven't touched it again. I remember a sequence where you're riding an elephant, which was interesting. I remember
Oh yeah.
kind of a running along the roofs sequence in the rain.
Yeah.
I think towards the end of the first third of the film. Yeah. Or not the film, the game, sorry. It had good moments, but
Had some great moments.
yeah.
And I thought Nadine and Chloe, it was great. It dived deeper into both their characters.
It was
and stuff.
interesting.
So the thing is, The Lost Legacy, it did well critically. We can't deny it didn't have the same splash as any of the main Uncharted games.
Well, I think
well, yeah, there's
it came up quite soon after Uncharted 4.
Like this never was even meant to be a mainline game.
Yeah,
So
it's
we're
like
not,
DLC.
that's the thing. It was originally announced DLC. In fact, some people who pre-ordered the collector's edition got it for free. It was never marketed as a full, and it wasn't a full price game. Okay, so obviously it's unfair to go, oh, it didn't do as well, so it's not viable.
It may not have been a full price game, but the quality was top notch. Like
Absolutely, so polished.
Yeah, it was. There'd be no undervaluing the work that
Exactly.
the people at Naughty Dog put into it.
So the thing is, in terms of this question, and should Nathan Drake return, I think The Lost Legacy was good, okay?
Yeah.
And their relationship was great. And you know what? I'd love to see some Sony third-party studios, okay? Not Naughty Dog. Let's not take their resources and time.
Yeah.
Let's get some third-party studios and develop little, like, £20, 8-hour adventures. Sam and Sully.
Yeah.
Maybe
Sully prequel.
Sully prequel. Let's have that. But in terms of a mainline Uncharted, if you want a next system seller, Uncharted 5, PS5 launch title, whatever. Not launch title, but that has to be Drake. But I would love to see more of these little spin-offs. Lower expectations, just shorter.
Now, when you say it has to be Drake, it has to be a Drake,
has to
not
be a Drake, that's what I mean.
Nathan.
But I think Nathan Drake has to feature. As you said.
I do think he would feature, but
Yeah.
I think obviously Cassie would have to be the one to...
Cassie, or as I said, her grandkids,
I don't know, like that's jumping ahead. Like you'd be talking about in the future at least.
But I mean, if you want to play as a kid to make it different, okay, you couldn't really have Cassie at her age now because Nathan Drake's too, like, I want to see Nathan Drake even older than that,
So you want Nathan Drake like on his deathbed?
Yeah, Nathan Drake's
He's not going to be able to do shit. Like what do you want?
No, he doesn't have to. He just be sitting there and giving advice, talking about times in the past.
What? This is what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want a moment in the game where Nathan Drake comes back and does his thing for a wee bit and instantly regrets doing it because it's like, I'm sore, I hate this. Why did I do this? Oh, that's right. I came to save my daughter, or I came to help my daughter. Okay, it was worth it.
Sully gets on in the games. Yeah,
I'm gonna go and chill over here. So please, you take care of this from here.
No,
something along them lines. You can't have that if he's got grandkids fucking running about.
Come on, let's go with something a bit more. We'll go with something a bit more original.
You know what we need to do is we need to establish Cassie and her secondary characters, right? Once we get that done, then we can have the grandkids. Where Nathan Drake's like makes a brief cameo shouting at pigeons or something like that in the background.
Good.
And that's his days of treasure hunting done.
So I'm thinking the next game down the line.
You're thinking
the end of Cassie's trilogy.
The end of Cassie's 4 games. Remember, Nathan Drake had 4 games. So it's
4 games, and a couple of spin-offs and
like let's say Cassie ends up becoming a friggin' bounty hunter. Uncharted 8, a bounty hunter's end. Actually, there's an interesting way to go.
Bounty hunting?
Bounty hunting.
Yeah.
On Cassie as a bounty hunter. Cassie Drake, the bounty hunter.
That'd be pretty cool.
It'd be different. It's still, obviously it'd carry the Uncharted moniker title, but it would give her her own unique character. Maybe she wants to step out of, maybe her dad wants her to take over the business that he has at the end of Uncharted 4, and she's like, well, that's cool, but your adventures sound a lot better. Bounty hunting.
How about Sam's got himself into some trouble and Cassie has to help Sam out.
Now, what age would Cassie be? Let's see, what age would Cassie be?
Like, I don't know, 19 maybe, 20. Sam and Nathan have been captured and Cassie has to go into the shady underworld to get them out. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, Nathan's more or less legitimized himself a bit more by
maybe Drake is, Nathan
Sully,
has went to save him and
Sully
and they're both captured.
Maybe.
I just mean to make it a bit different. As you said, go into the underworld.
I think
treasure hunting's getting a bit stale.
Oh yeah, no, treasure hunting is, I think we've had 6 games of it. Like I said,
I don't want it to go to Tomb Raider route where it's more like survival and stuff.
yeah, no, I think bounty. If it starts off as a bounty hunter, it should start off a bounty hunter and has a personal, and then ends up as a personal vendetta against someone for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Nathan Drake gets killed in the second game, and then the third game is her going out for revenge.
Jesus.
I don't know, like, or maybe like her uncle. Maybe obviously Sam gets killed. She could have been quite close to her uncle or whatnot.
Could have been.
Don't know, but
sure. Yeah, there you go. Is that everything you had? Everything you had covered? Everything you had written down?
Let's have a wee quick jaunt at this list. Yeah, more or less.
I put here as a quick talking point, prequel. Would you want a Nathan Drake prequel?
No Nathan Drake prequel, but give me a Sully prequel. I'm all about that. I want to see
as a little. I think not as a mainline Uncharted.
Not mainline,
but as a one of these little Lost Legacy middle of the road.
What did you call the main bad girl, be a bad woman?
Helen Mirren.
Yeah, well, Helen Mirren. What the fuck was her name? Not Helen Mirren, but
fuck it.
Well, her and Sully were tight anyway. Back in the day, they were tight. Maybe before she kind of went off dark side, him and her, you can have a story about their blossoming love before she fucks him over and turns him into the jaded bastard he is now.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, until he meets a young boy who saves his life from darkness of self-hatred and whatever Sully was doing,
Jesus
drinking,
Christ.
smoking cigars with his Tom Selleck mustache.
She is Catherine Marlowe.
Catherine Marlowe.
Of course, I think I might have said Uncharted 4 there, but remember Uncharted 4 was Mr. Pirate Man? I forgot what he's called.
He was played...
Rafe, was it?
Rafe, yeah, who played him?
It's actually pretty cool.
I was watching a show called...
Rafe Adler.
The Following, and it turns out the actor who plays Rafe was in that, and I was like, this motherfucker looks familiar. Warren Cole. Is that who he plays in The Following? Or the actor?
That's the actor.
Ah, yes. So there he is.
There you go. So, brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, good fun.
Good crack.
That's the end of the third part of our 3-part Uncharted series. Hope you enjoyed it. You can check out the other 2 videos somewhere. I don't know, on the channel. I'll link them if I can.
You will link them.
I certainly will. Thanks very much, Joel, for joining
No worries,
me.
have to be here.
And we'll come back soon with more podcasts about games that came out 5 years ago.
Come back with games, come back with films, come back with all that good shit.
All that good shit. I've been Scott. This has been Joel.
See you there.
Cheers. Bye.